But in Guild Wars, I found that wasn't really always a huge issue. You know, it's not like you had all these different gear stats where you define which one was going to be the best slot. Um, this much strength is better than this much, dexterity or whatever the stats would be.
Yeah, I think what we're going to see is possibly less about how to create your group of people to gain maybe the most profit, but we'll probably see here are the combo skills that work together. The two-player combo skills. These perform this outcome and provides you more PvP damage for this one. Or this one provides you the best stun. And then we'll probably see, all right, here's individual skills. You do this skill, and you combine it with, and then you follow up with this skill. It's going to provide you this much more damage if you do it in this rotation. And we probably are going to see that. And then someone's going to come along and find something better again. It's going to become the flavor of the month situation. Where I think though, I'm hoping, I guess we hope in every game that it's not too big of a deal, not too big of an issue, but we are definitely still going to see those people who go out there creating their guides to the warrior, guides to the ranger, guides to the elementalist, and they're going to want to tell people. I mean, people make their sites and they make their guides off this, and they try to make money off of it, so they're going to do it no matter what. All right, so the next question was, within dynamic scaling events, what systems are in place to keep people from hanging out in an area, making the event harder, but not contributing?
That's a good point.
So their response was actually, I think, really awesome. They said the game is constantly pulling information for what each character is actually doing within the event. They have to be actually participating. Additionally, if they are level 80 character and run into a level 3 event, they get sidekicked down to level 3. So no more level 80s ruining those level 3 events. Your level 80, you come down, you're going down with them. So be prepared, level 80s, to look like little kids again. That's why I wanted to call it the mini-me system earlier. It just kind of like knocks you all the way down to a little baby. But I like this idea, and they said it's going to be constantly pulling. Even like people enter the fight, people leave the fight. They said it's going to scale up and down. It doesn't just scale up and then stays there. It's going to change each time as people participating leave or disappear.
I am curious though to see what they mean by interacting. Like, is it going to record stats, damage, like your DPS that you're doing? Because someone they could have some kind of auto attack system just going on. Well, if there's no auto attack, but it's a macro for something. You just press a button, and it's just doing minimal damage. It's involved in the fight. I wonder if it's going to scale the boss based upon that damage output, how much damage they're taking, how they're protecting other players, or are they just beating the boss with a stick? So,
well, if I'm not mistaken, they said in what we read earlier previously that in order to be considered contributing, you have to meet at least a minimum threshold of something. So maybe we'll take that into place. I'm not really sure how fast it starts to scale either. But considering the fact that you have to lose some events in order to see a different chain, I'm going to assume it's not going to scale based on if it's receiving enough damage to lower itself to make it easier. Because there's going to be points where they're going to want us to fail so that we actually see the next part. I mean, it's part of their game. Kind of sucks if we always won. I think you froze for a second. Oh, there we go. You're good now. You had an internet connection problem, apparently. All right. So, simple question: will the game have any planned voice IP system? Their response: still under consideration. So, not much talk there. We're having problems with your camera, so you may want to turn your camera off, turn it back on, or something. Oh, no, you're back. Hold on, we'll see. If you stay, we'll take care of it.
We'll just see what happens. All right. But on stuff, what do you think? Do you think we should have that in the game?
Well, I went to the next slide, but as far as voice IP in the game, I don't care. I'm going to use Vent, TeamSpeak, whatever the guild's using. Would you use voice IP in game very much?
I mean, it's good for pugs. The problem with that, I would see though, you go on any website, you give anyone access to a webcam or a microphone, so you always get trolls, and so that could be a down effect. But you can always mute players as well. But when you're dealing with hundreds of players, that could create an issue, and it is using a lot of connection. So it'd be interesting, perhaps like within a group, I would say, a group voice chat. That might be something more reasonable, I think.
Yeah, possibly. All right, so the next question was, will the content be regularly updated or if it will have big expansions? And the answer was pretty good. Our team is growing immensely from Guild Wars. It used to take our entire team to do the expansions. This time we have two teams, one for regular content and one for expansions. Some content will be free, some content through the store, and some box expansions. Now, the only place this worries me, as I like that we're going to have regular content and expansion content, but what do they mean, some content through the store? Are you going to be limited to certain dungeons?
Yeah, I was thinking of that as well. You know, Guild Arena Net, I should say, they're pretty good guys, so I don't really think they're going to try screwing over the majority of their players. What they might do is, I know that they added, the costumes and other things in Guild Wars 1, and they didn't really influence how you played the game. So that's probably what they mean by that. And maybe even experience boost, because, end game doesn't really affect you. It just helped you get somewhere quicker. I really hope they don't mean anything else by that. I don't think they do, but obviously we have no information on that. So it'll be interesting to see. However, I did notice in Guild Wars 1, there are tons of people running around like as dragons. They're drinking on the little elixir things that last forever, and that kind of bothered me. I know the game's on its sixth year now or so, and at this point, it's just something like, here you go, thanks for being with us before Guild Wars 2. But I'd be interested to see, well, to not see that, where there's so many people running around as these ridiculous characters.
Yeah, it could be that their content is just cosmetic stuff through the stores, what they're talking about. Or it could, I hope it's not DLC maps for PvP. Let's move on. So what kind of rewards will people get when they are sidekicked down? Simple answer, you will receive rewards that are good for your level, not exactly optimal, but at least you receive something. Not really too much to discuss here. Seems like pretty good. You're not going to receive a lower level. You're not going to receive lower level items. You're going to receive stuff according to your actual level, but not the best stuff, essentially. So, not much to say. Let's go on to the next question. We have tons of questions still to go through. Are dynamic events going to be intelligent? So, they said, we are in the process of making the game recognize that you're participating when you buff people and other actions. There is more than just killing mobs, such as pulling out fires. So what the guy was worried about when he asked this question was whether it was just going to be a whole bunch of killing things over and over and over again if there was more factors to an event when it looks at participation and stuff like that. So I think they pretty much secured that information for us, letting us know that they are trying right now. They are setting up. So obviously they're not done with how the dynamic events recognize your participation and what all is involved during a dynamic event, whether it's saving people from a fire, putting out a fire, killing these mobs, defending an area, capturing somebody, freeing somebody. So it looks like they're just looking for multiple ways to create that dynamic event more than just killing things.
Yeah, this reminds me of the pirate video as well, where if you fail the first part, the second part, the pirates take over the city and they set fire to everything, and you have to put out a certain amount of fires. So that's what they mean by that, I suppose.
Yeah, that is it. So let's go on.
Yeah.
What type of item system will you have? Characters have armor slots, weapon slots, utility slots, back slots, etc. Every item has an upgrade slot, and the range of effectiveness in items in Guild Wars 2 is larger than in Guild Wars. And that's the key thing I wanted to look at. The range of effectiveness. And I think the big reason for this that we are seeing is in Guild Wars 1 there were 20 levels to the game, and I believe there are 80 levels in Guild Wars 2. So the level of effectiveness in items is much larger. I don't know how much larger, but is larger than it was in Guild Wars. You could go with a medium item and still be decently fine in Guild Wars 1, as opposed to probably in this one. Do you think that's going to be a big difference?
In Guild Wars 1, they did have a crafting area for, every new big section of the game. And therefore, you can kind of keep up. You just have to get the materials first. So I'm curious to see how. I'm sure it will be a big difference. That is a huge gap. This is a different game as well. So I don't really know what to say about the. I'm assuming, yeah, it's gonna be a huge difference. You can't have level 40 items when you're fighting level 60 mobs. Uh, well, I guess depending on what class you are and how well you can dodge. But it'll be much more of a hassle, I would think.
Yeah, the items, the items playing a bigger role could be a good or bad thing. People, it's gonna create a new market for the items. I'd say PvP, you always want the best items. We all know that. But when it comes to PvE, sometimes people do not care as much unless they're hardcore, going to complete the harder dungeons or such. So it's going to be a big different game. All right, next question. Will we be able to create an item that looks exactly like another item? And they released information on this a long time ago, but just as a repeat, we have transmogrification stones that allow you to mix and match item stats and appearances. Now, a recent game, I won't mention because I'm afraid they'll bring down the stream, created a transmog system within their game itself recently, which I find quite funny considering that Guild Wars 2 has talked about it for quite a while. And the idea is very simple. Make your clothes, make your armor look like another piece of armor, but maintain its stats. So, it's appeared in a currently popular game to be unnamed, and it's been designed and set up and been said to be in Guild Wars 2 for quite a while, and they just confirmed it still. Do you see this as an interesting feature to the game?
I think so. There's a lot of armor I really like, and I'm not, I like the graphics to be very beautiful, like the aesthetics. But for my own character, I like him to look cool. I'm not really focused on it. But if I get a really awesome looking shoulder piece or something like that, and then I have to switch it, and all of a sudden it's like this little tiny crap looking one, of course I want to keep my old one because it looks awesome. But I can definitely see this being more important with particular genders who like to keep their characters look a certain way. But it's you can't hurt anybody by doing that unless somehow that people look at your gear like, oh, this person's wearing this level gear, and you anticipate them. Well, in fact, I take that back because Guild Wars probably won't matter as much. So no, I see nothing wrong with this at all, and I think it'd be a good feature.
Yeah, I think it's a great way to add in more customization to the system. You like the look of this weapon, you like the look of this gear. Keep your look, get your new stats. What I have a feeling is going to happen is this is going to be an item shop item. Buy a set of transmog stones for $5.99 or $4.99 or whatever, a set of 10. So
Another thing I'm curious about is will these items that you can buy with the cash shop be tradable? Because I know that becomes a huge economy, and that keeps game or items keep flowing in the game, and it helps the company who's making the game get money as well. Because people who don't normally want to buy the items outside the game using their credit cards or whatever will buy the game or will buy the items in game with in-game cash. But that can also cause like inflation with gold sellers. So I wonder how that's going to work out. What do you think?
um, items being sold. I usually don't mind items being sold in game. Buy the item yourself, go sell it in game with game money. But inflation, the change, I'm not sure. I mean, Guild Wars had their system where if certain items were being sold or stuff, selling it to a merchant, the price could drop or increase and stuff. Selling it to a player was still set by the player, of course. So maybe it will have a restriction of nose trading. Maybe it will only be allowed to be traded once. Maybe you can only trade consumables. So who knows? I'm gonna assume that some items may be tradable, some items may not be. We'll find out more later, I guess. All right. So they say after you learn your first 5 skills, what goes on after that? Are traits going to replace some of those skills? All right. So they said we currently just scrapped our trait system and are redoing it. That's a means we still got a while for the game. Traits do not replace but will enhance them. Once you unlock the weapon skills, you will get traits plus everything on the right side of your skill bar: healing, utility, skills, etc. So